Yes, my name is Geoffrey Ocaka. I ventured into poultry in 2020 at the height of the first lockdown. Prior to that, I worked with a non-governmental organization in Kampala. Then, after the first lockdown, I moved to Gulu. And so we started to brainstorm with a colleague on what we could do to keep us busy during the lockdown. And so we conceived the idea of starting a poultry project. And initially we thought we were just going to start something small just to keep us busy and all that during that time of the lockdown. But along the way we realized if we did it small, we would opt out of it very fast. So we challenged ourselves to do it big. Now, I had zero knowledge in poultry, absolutely zero. But the gentleman I worked with and I conceived the idea with is a veterinary doctor, and just a neighbor at the farm. So it's like we already have the pine trees. We can do well. The pine. We felt that the pine trees were idle, and we wanted to put it to good use. So we opted. Okay, then we decided around April to put up a structure. Our initial idea was to put up a small temporary structure, but along the way we thought against that. We let's put something big. Something which is multi-purpose, and that's why you see the poultry structure, the main poultry structure looks the way it is. The idea was we can convert it into something else. So when we zeroed on to doing poultry, we now started to think about which breed of chicken do we then bring. Now, Tony had done an extensive research on the Sasso breed. And so we realized that the Sasso first of all, it was a dual purpose bird, fast growing, but also very disease resilient. And so we decided, okay, we're going to get the Sasso breed. We started doing the construction in April. By June, mid-June, the structure was up and running. So now our next agenda was where then do we get the birds from? And remember, we were coming from we were already in the lockdown. So I did some research here and there, and then we zeroed that the closest place we were going to get the Sasso breed was in Kamwenge. And so I established contact in Kamwenge, and then because we were just starting, I decided we were going to play it safe. Instead of going with day-old birds, we opted to go for the month-old birds. And so when we met a gentleman in Kamwenge, he allowed to give us the birds at a price we thought was fair. We decided to start on with 400 birds. So I got a waiver, and then I drove to Kamwenge, packed the birds in my car, and then drove back here. Now it was such an experience because we started with 400 birds, but when we reached Gulu, we had only lost 2 birds on the way, and look at the distance from Kamwenge to Gulu. So we're like, okay, this is good. Now when we started with the 400, we realized that our entry point was supposed to be 500. So I said, well, how about we got local broilers from within the community. So we placed an order for another 1-month-old broilers, 100 of them, and then we started with 500. 1 month into the after keeping the birds, and the birds were about 200. Were 2 months, we decided we needed to increase on the number, looking also at the market in December. Remember, this was July. So we opted, and I got another contact this time round in Wandegea. There was a lady who had the Sasso breed in Wandegea, and so she opted. She agreed to give us 300 birds. So because we started in August, I stocked another 300 birds from Wandegea. So now we had 800 birds. When we had 800 birds, we decided, no, how about we pushed ourselves more? So we got into the lady who had supplied us the first 100 broilers, we asked her to give us another 300 broilers. So she gave us another 300 broilers, which were a month old. And by September, we had close to 1,300 birds, and I thought that was a good place for us to start. So we raised the birds, and by December, we had birds were now ready for the market. And so when we started out, we thought now we were going to sell loads of the birds in the market. But also one thing that we were doing was we would keep the birds, get the birds at 1 month, keep them inside the house on deep litter for another additional month, then throw them out in the compound. Because our strategy was we wanted to raise them in the most organic way we could. And also, me and Tony were trying to pilot and see whether these exotic breeds could do as well as the local breeds. So we threw the birds out, and then what we would do is we had grass all over the compound. And so the birds started scavenging on the grass, and in no time the grass had been eaten all, and the ground was left bare. But it was such a beautiful sight looking at the birds, and that is now where we opted. We decided, okay, since the sassos were just a single colored bird, especially the sassos which we were getting, for purposes of beautifying the farm, we were supposed to have multicolored birds, and this is now where the broilers came in handy. Because one thing about the broilers is you get the broilers and they are multicolored, and then when you have them on the compound, it looks very good. Because also when we were starting out, we had positioned ourselves as a center of excellence, and the idea was to do a mindset change for the local community. We wanted to demonstrate to the local community that actually the exotic breed can do as well as the local breed, because I had already done a research on the local breed, and then I realized that they were not economically viable to be raised for a business, because you would need about 9 to 11 months before you have a bird which can be consumed for food. Yet these birds here at 5 months raised has a local breed without doing it on a deep litter system. It was good enough. So for us, since it was a mindset change, we opted. We were going to try out different varieties. Then along the way, a colleague introduced me to the Kenbro breed. He said these were fast growers, and it would they're fast growers, and if we crossed them with the other breed, the product would be very good. So I also opted and got some Kenbro breed. I think I got about 450 Kenbros from a colleague in Gayaza, and had to transport them here. But in the transportation alone, I lost about 25 birds. Remember when I was transporting the sassos from Kamwenge, I lost 3 out of 400. Now these ones, I'm just transporting them from Gayaza, bringing them here. I have lost 25 birds. But the birds were in terms of size and weight, they were bigger than the sassos. So we brought them, had them crossed, and it was a beauty. Now the beauty came when the birds started to lay. Because it was a cross of Kenbro, Sasso, and then the broilers. We started, and round about that time we started to hatch. A gentleman came and picked five trays and went and hatched. The hatchability we realized was good. Then afterwards, as the birds were growing, they started to multiply. It came to a time where we would harvest about 76 trays of eggs from about 400 birds, which we're hatching at that time. And so we would say, in a day? Yes, no, in a week. Yeah, those were weekly. So in a week we would pick like about between 72 to 79 trays of eggs. Now these were fertilized eggs. Now we decided, okay, let's pilot these eggs with the community. So we would sell the eggs to the community, and then they would give, because of this whole understanding that these birds actually don't sit on their eggs. So we would pick the eggs, tried it and gave it to the members of the community who had hens that were sitting on the eggs. And so after 21 days, they came back and they were saying that they had hatched, and then and so the hatchability was very good. At some point in time, we had hit up to 88% of the eggs which would give out would be hatched. So we started to sell fertilized eggs. Along the way, I realized there was business. There was more business in the fertilized eggs than in selling the birds themselves, because round about that time I was selling a tray of fertilized eggs at 20,000 shillings, and would sell as far as Mbale.
And the tray is how much?
Ordinarily, the other ordinary trays are 9,000, 10,000, but us we were selling at 20,000 shillings for the fertilized eggs, and the people who would pick the eggs, have them hatched, would refer us to other people.
Okay, how many eggs are in the tray?
30 eggs in a tray. Yeah. Yes. So then our focus changed. Our focus was now, instead of selling off the birds, let's feed the birds like we would ordinarily feed the layers, so that we have as much fertilized eggs as possible. Yes. But in that process, you realize that then there was also a bit of wastage. And the wastage was coming in the feeds, because even the cocks were eating the same feeds with the hens, because we couldn't separate them, because we wanted them to mount the hens, so that then we can have the fertilized eggs. Now it came a point in time when we wanted to get rid of the birds, but the market for the birds was our penetration in the market had been affected by COVID, because when we joined, we thought that after the first lockdown, and when we are transitioning back to normal life, the markets would be opened, gatherings would be opened, weddings would happen, and then so we would be selling the birds, because our projection was that we were going to be multiplying, bringing in new stock of birds, 500 on a monthly basis, but that didn't happen. We got stuck with birds. And then also the cost of feeding of the birds kind of shot up. Remember, when we were starting up the project, we were buying a kilo of maize at 400 shillings. It came to a point where we were buying a kilo of maize at 1,000 shillings. Currently, now we're buying a kilo of maize at 1,200 shillings. And you realize that that eats into the profit. And now, because we're raising these birds on a commercial basis, we could not entirely rely on them to scavenge in order for them to get feeds. Now this is coming from up. Now that means we had to considerably supplement on the feeds of the birds. So we would give 80% of the feeds to the birds, and then the rest they can scavenge around. So because of that considerable increase in the feeds, we decided we were going to scale down on our production until such a time when the prices of the feeds improves, and then we can pick it up. I think in terms of benefit, I think for me, we have achieved what we had set out to achieve. And one of the things that we had set out to achieve was to do a mindset change in the community, to demystify these narratives that these birds. First of all, one of the things that I've also realized, and I think is a plus, is that actually these birds can sit on their eggs. It's just about the conditioning of the birds. Because one thing that I decided to do is I picked some of the birds, took them home. And the birds actually, because home I had some local breeds, and then they would see the other local birds sit on their eggs, and they have also started to sit on the eggs. But also now the community also comes and buys these eggs, and then it has improved on the breeds of the eggs within the community, because of this, the genetics is fairly good in terms of faster growth. So even the community has benefited. But I've also, as a result of setting up this farm, I have had to help other farmers set up farms. I have in the 1 month, in the 18 months I have been in operation, I have helped up practically set up 6 different farms within Gulu. And for me that is a plus. We have had traffic at the farm, and people have been inspired. We have had to set up farms as far as Kitgum, people coming and learning and asking questions. I have had interns come into the farm, learn from the farm, and then go up and set farms in places like Mukono. So in terms of outreach, and I think we have achieved on that front. Now, because of the capital intensiveness, the amount of money I had to put up in setting up this farm, I can't say I have recovered what I have set out to recover. I think we put about 85 million shillings to set up, and that was to put up the structure, that was to fence off 2.5 acres of land, and then because put up water harvesters, and then the solar lighting system, plus also stocking the farm. Because we wanted to start it in a big way. And then also one of the other benefits we have had is we have partnered with organizations to skill the youth. For me, I think that's a big benefit. Now, the fact that we are growing, we hope to in future place ourselves as a center of excellency and do more trainings than we have done before. From the sales of the birds, just lately it has started to open up. Now I sell about 150 birds in a month.
In average, how much?
Each bird goes for 30,000 shillings. And then now, because most of the birds that we had now started to drop in their egg production, so our egg production had also now dropped down from what we used to sell, because at the peak of it we were selling close to 76 trays in a week. Now it came to a point where we were doing 40. Now we're doing only about 20 trays, because most of the birds are now being we are selling them off in order for us to get new birds. Now these ones here are what we are now preparing for the next round. This plus the sassos which we saw in the other rooms. So we are looking at on average we will be doing about 45 trays of eggs in a week. And when we are doing the eggs, the sales of the birds also go down, because we would want to retain those birds to give us the eggs. At some point in time we were spending up to 6 million shillings in a month to feed the birds. Yes.
And at the peak, how many birds did you have at the farm?
At the peak of it we had 2,200 birds at the farm. Yes, but 2,200 birds at different ages, because remember we space our birds month. There is always a month difference in the birds. 500. We bring 500 this month, and the next month we bring another 500. Yes, so of different ages.
Costing of medication, vaccination.
The cost of vaccination and medication is not so high. I think in a month, given the number of birds that we have, in a month for say medication, we can spend about 300,000 shillings. That includes the vaccinations. Before anyone ventures into any project, not just poultry, I think one of the things that person has to have first of all is passion. They first of all need to be passionate about the undertaking. And then you will also notice that passion alone is not going to help you remain in the business. Someone has to get a bit of knowledge, and this knowledge they can go by volunteering to work in a farm, experiencing what it means to raise a bird, because birds and livestock, just like any other thing. And someone, first of all, you need to learn the bird. So that when and these are things which are practical. These are things that they will not just tell you in a class, and so you need to go stay in a farm maybe for about 2 weeks, learn what happens at the farm, why they do whatever things that they do at the farm, like aspects of biosecurity, and looking at a bird. When a bird presents this symptom, what do you do, and all that, and all that. Those are the practical skills one first of all needs to have it before venturing into any project, because unlike other projects, this one here is very, very practical. Yes, because for me, there came a point in time when all the workers, when the workers just left, he woke up and then he said, "I think I'm tired. I am going." And then so because I had been at the farm every step of the way, it was easy for me to jump in and then start to do whatever they were doing. So it's very important that you get some hands-on skills by practically being at a farm before you venture into a poultry project, because the poultry project, it pays, but also the losses are also very, very high, especially in cases of disease outbreaks. Yes.
What does the future look like for you and your business now?
I think the future looks bright. The fact that we have weathered this other storm and we have still remained in the business, I think it looks good, because along the way we have also learned, and now we have put the learning into practice. So we've also got very creative ways of cutting costs, especially in terms of feeding. Now, one thing that we do is, now we've decided that instead of just having to buy maize, we would, because we have about 5 acres of land outside the poultry farm. There we can now plant in the maize or the soya, which tends to be very expensive, and it constitutes the greatest chunk of the money which goes into raising the birds, because feeding I think costs about 70% of the cost that we use to raise the birds. So if we already have these ingredients in place, then it becomes easy for us to raise the birds. But also we have noticed that instead of trying to fidget and getting the different ingredients for mixing the feeds, we are better off buying concentrates. And then, because the concentrates has all the nutrients that we need, then now we just get our broken maize and then our maize bran, and then we mix the feeds in-house. Because we've noticed that when we mix the feeds in-house, we have control over the quality of the feeds that we get, as opposed to buying finished feeds. Now, in that way, we also cut costs on that arena. So for us, the future looks bright. We think with the opening of the economy come January, we should be good to go. And that's why now you see we have started to restock the birds, because at least we have already made contacts with some hotels within the district. Now, if we have an order of, say, 100 birds on a weekly basis, so in 4 weeks we have sold about 400 birds. Selling off 400 birds means that we can be in position to maintain the farm without having to dip our hands in our pockets to keep the farm running. So the future looks bright.
How many people help you to run the farm?
Right now, I have Patrick, the gentleman, and the wife. They are the ones who run the farm. And then on a daily basis, I'm also at the farm to give a hand here and there. Yes. I just want to encourage whoever wants to venture into the project is to start small, learn the lessons, and grow with the project. But also, one of the things that has made me keep on going is the fact that we take the aspect of bookkeeping very, very seriously. And then the fact this is not a project that one can run remotely. So you need to be at the farm, see what is going on at the farm before the birds get sick. Know what conditions the birds are in, and then nip it in the bud. Treat it before it escalates, because if it escalates, then the chances of the bird surviving is going to be very, very high. At some point in time when I was just starting, at about 3 months, I lost about 400 birds from a bunch of 450 birds that I had brought, simply because I was myself and the gentleman who was taking care of the birds at that point in time were a bit negligent, and then there was an outbreak, and then before we knew it, it was too late, and we lost a lot. Now this time round, we've become wiser, so we pay attention to the birds. And how do we pay attention? Is we look at the water, because we know this lot of birds, this is how much water they take, this is how much feeds they take. So in the event that we have given the normal ratio of water and they have not taken that water, there it is easy for us to detect that this is there must be a problem with these birds. They are not eating and drinking as much as they're supposed to be. Then there we call on to an extension worker to help with the diagnosis, and then doing the treatment. But also one of the things that we have realized, that we learned the hard way, was the fact of the importance of biosecurity in this type of project. So one thing that we do at the farm is we restrict entry into the farm, and persons who enter into the farm first of all have to disinfect before they enter into the farm.
What do you use for disinfecting?
We use quite a bit of solutions for disinfecting. We use Vorokil, and then also we use lime at the entry of our pooch. Whoever enters in first of all has to step onto the lime before they can access the farm. But overall, it is only Patrick and the wife who remain in the farm. Yes, and that's why you will even see that their residence is within the farm. I think if I went back to what I was doing before COVID-19, the lessons learned along this venture would just go to waste. So I intend to improve on the things that I have learned, because I see that structure, the one which I told you initially that I had prepared to start the layer project. I need to have about 5,000 layers in that structure. And then when you look on this other side, we tried banana plantations. So, and I'm thinking there is quite a bit of possibility there as well. So, and now we have the advantage that whatever fertilizers we get, whatever droppings we get from the farm, from the chicken section, we can always use it at the garden, and then do our banana plantation. But also on the other side of the property, we intend to put up greenhouses and then start to do vegetables for export. So really, I think the opportunity that the agricultural sector presents is quite phenomenal, and I want to use my time now to do these things.
Thank you so much.
Please.